The heroes you love and the stories that you remember tell you what your deepest motivations are, your unique needs that drive you to work harder than anyone else and succeed. If you're working on the right things, the ones meant for you. To get clear on what work you would be better at than anyone else, pick which of these 6 heroes is your favorite. Who is your guide? Maverick from Top Gun. Dominic Toretto from Fast and the Furious. Neo from The Matrix. Schindler's List's Oskar Schindler. The guy from Moneyball, Billy Beane. Or Raiders of the Lost Ark's Indiana Jones. Who is it? What does he teach you about the work you can do better than anyone else, and how you can get the things that matter to you? Each one of these is a master of one of the 6 fundamental human needs. Understanding these are key to obtaining the things you want in life. I'm going to tell you about the value and need that your chosen guide has mastered, and what careers that satisfy that need. Careers that you'd push harder than your competition, enjoy the fight, and achieve greatness. The 6 human needs are the fundamental desires that motivate all people, everywhere, no matter who they are. They were made famous by Tony Robbins decades ago, and man, I wish I had taken the time to learn about them sooner. The last couple years, I've been recommended more and more strongly by people that I respect to look into it. And this year I finally did. Holy crap, it has made so many things work better. The 6 needs are certainty, variety, significance, connection, growth, and contribution. We talk a lot about other values, which make it seem like we're all looking for completely different things. But any value you find can be broken down into these 6 fundamental components. Like, for example, I like to talk about freedom. Charlie Hooper, the guy I learned about the 6 values from, has it tattooed on his freaking chest. But freedom, my favorite, can actually be broken down into certainty and variety. Since these are the root need and motivation for everybody, understanding them makes you vastly better at understanding other people. My friendships have gotten much better since learning about them, and our conversations have gotten far more interesting and fun. Strangers have gotten more interesting too. No one is boring anymore, because seeing what the root values are, I can always find 1 or 2 that are also my values. You also become significantly better at marketing and sales, key skills in business. But today we're talking about how knowing your fundamental values will help your career. By identifying what you'll most enjoy doing, and what you'll actually be happy when you get it, and the things you'll be motivated to work harder on than any other career and become the best at it. Every fraction of clarity more you get on these makes you more successful. So let's get into it. Our first one, it's big, it's loud, and we all know it. It's Maverick, Top Gun. Significance. His need, his value, his motivation was significance. If you picked him, that's your value too. He wanted to be the best, but not anonymously or by himself. He wanted to do it in front, where everyone could see. He wanted to compete face to face and win. He wanted everyone to know that he was the best. Significance is the desire to feel important, feel you matter, often feeling above others. Usually, this is pretty public. Fame is a very powerful form of significance. Status works great too. For example, being the best gardener doesn't have much fame, but everyone that knows you knows that you're the best. Less commonly, you also might run into the desire for significance with yourself. That one, it's a big deal for me personally. I care a lot about always doing what would make myself proud. When I became a music student in college, no one else knew, no one cared, and absolutely no one was impressed. But I felt frickin' awesome. If you're the maverick, significance type of person, work that brings a lot of significance will energize you, give you a major edge, and feel good at the same time. So, what careers give you significance? We all know these. They've been shouted at us our entire lives. First of all, you have the high status jobs like finance, law, being a surgeon. These are ones that are written as glamorous on TV. And if your parents pressure you into a career, I guarantee it's one of these. The exact pick is different in culture to culture, but you know what they are. Another route is the high morality jobs. Working for charity, a nonprofit, or even being like a clergyman in a religion. That route might call to you too. All right, next. Dominic Toretto, Fast and the Furious. What is this man all about? He's not keeping it a secret. He cares about family. He cares about connection. And if he's your favorite, that's probably your core value too. Connection isn't only about relatives though. Most of Dom's family were friends that he'd met. Hell, he turned half of the people trying to kill him into family too. You know, connection isn't my top value, but talking about Mr. Toretto, even I get pumped up about it. Connection doesn't even have to be directly with people, or with people at all. It could be with your pets, or with nature, with God or the universe. You know what this feeling feels like. Me personally, I really like indirect connection. There's plenty of super busy people out there that I'll never get to meet who are working really hard on great ideas, putting that work out into the world. And when I work on something that matters to me, that they're working on too, it gives me a strong feeling of connection with them. So what type of careers does a connection person crush at? Teacher is the obvious answer. Therapist is another obvious one, but probably more appealing is being a coach. There's athletic coaches, and business coaching is another option as well. In the more traditional route, you have things like event planning, being a negotiator for law enforcement or for high-end businesses, and high-end sales is a surprising option. The higher up you go, these become like 6 months to multiple years to form these deals. You form relationships. You become kind of an advisor, getting to know really deeply what motivates them, what their real needs are, and what the whole organization is really going for. That ends up kind of being a form of connection. All right, I'm liking this. Come on, let's keep going. Before we do, you might be saying like, what the heck? Like significance and connection, they're sort of opposites of each other, aren't they? I'll say, dang, aren't you the clever one? You're right. In fact, they are complete opposites. Being significant is pretty isolating, and we hear celebrities complaining about that all the time. All of the 6 needs come in pairs of opposites. And so the kicker is you might be really high in 2 things that are opposites. It's super important to be aware that this is possible. This is normal and pretty common. Get comfortable with it. It's not just for this topic, but for many other things in life. It's flat out a scam. We're raised to think that we have to be one thing or the other. Be smart or be strong. It cuts you off from most of your potential, and it's just not true. So keep your eyes open that you actually might be really strong in both sides of these opposites. I got it? Right. Then speaking of unlimited potential, the next one is Neo from the Matrix. Growth. Neo starts off as Mr. Anderson, a mundane office worker doing not much of anything. And boy, does he feel this is wrong in every fiber of his being. He knows there's more, not just in the world, but in himself. Growth is Neo's prime need that drives him as he starts even lower in the real world, struggling to move his eyelids, to mastering kung fu, leaping over buildings, becoming faster and stronger than the agents, then even stronger than the Matrix itself. Neo is driven to learn more and get stronger and reach extreme limits of his potential. But unlike Maverick, driven by significance, Neo doesn't do things for the competitive win. He does them to be able to do it. He does it because he wants it to be done. If you haven't guessed, growth is by far my number 1 need and motivator. And if Neo was your favorite, it probably is yours too. Some careers that could make you thrive if you're a growth type person. The first one, STEM, everything in science, research, technology, and engineering. Those got me hard. I enjoyed working in those for many years. There's a lot of learning that increases your abilities, and more than most careers, that keeps continuing even after you leave university and start working in your career. Particularly in software, there's so much new stuff that gets invented and developed every year. There's a lot more to learn, a lot more strength to develop. Artistic work also gives a strong feeling of growth. It can be slower growth depending on the type of art you're doing. This is why I never felt satisfied as a guitarist, but that growing continues noticeably through your entire life. Another super high growth path is entrepreneur. So many different skills are needed to be learned and assembled. This makes sense why right now I'm so obsessed with being an artistic entrepreneur. Now time for the opposite of the me-focused growth value is Schindler's List, Oskar Schindler. Contribution. Schindler's List is a dour movie, and Schindler wasn't laughing and smiling much in it. Contribution is often pretty hard, and it's usually a life of sacrifice. So not surprisingly, people with the need to contribute are pretty rare. But it's a very clear and easy to understand value. Oskar Schindler is clearly a hero. He risked himself and sacrificed much to greatly help others. If he is the hero you most resonate with, you'll both benefit from work and hobbies that contribute to others and excel highly at them. For careers that satisfy the need to contribute, these are the hardest ones to find. They're also the ones that require a lot of sacrifice. As I explained in another video, changing to a different career that suits your values better usually will increase your income because you're going to be such a superior performer. But switching to a career in contribution usually is a sacrifice. This type is so famous that it is actually what gives all meaningful work the reputation for being a sacrifice. Some specific options that you'll excel at and feel happier doing are being a teacher, a legal public defender, and working for a charity, nonprofits. A different route that doesn't require sacrificing money or status is being a doctor. But no mistake, this is a hard job, and it requires sacrifices in many other ways in your life. It truly is hard to contribute without sacrificing in some way. Thank you to all who do so. Don't waste your strength doing things that anyone else can do when there's so few people like you. Starting the last pair, we have Beane from Moneyball. Certainty is the hardest value to explain, and even harder to find examples in movies. Brad Pitt's character in Moneyball is about building guaranteed success, wealth, peace, and comfort he can count on. He has some risky moves, because of course it's a movie, but his motivations drive him to use probability to pick the players most likely to score runs for the team. Not look exciting, not make his peers or fans love or admire him. Only what works, and what will work most often, is what he cares about. The need for certainty is a drive to have dependable, guaranteed good results. No chance of losing your home. Dependable relationships. Knowing the good things will always be there gives it a special quality all its own. I'm not doing a great job of making this sound glamorous, but I relate to this value a lot too. If you're a certainty type person, first of all, I'd love to hear what movies are your favorite. This was hard to find a single example. Also, you probably get a lot more joy out of things like TV, hiking, and concerts than average. And the piece of insurance might actually be worth it for someone like you when others say that it's a bad money move. Now, for certainty career options, it's pretty much everything we were told to do growing up. There's almost too many to name, and are the jobs our educational system naturally shuttles you into. This is the path that everyone's taught. You go to college, you get a 9 to 5. It's funny that it's so rare in movies, but so common in work. What we were pushed to was the opposite of what we yearn for. Some examples of jobs with extra high certainty are working for the government, being a tenured professor, working in the military, and the medical industry. There's an infinite demand for those people. Now for our final value. The opposite of the need for certainty is Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Variety. What is Indiana doing in a booby-trapped temple? Fighting Nazis on a biplane. Indiana has a tenured job as a professor. He doesn't have to do any of these crazy things. He wants to. If you identify with Indiana Jones, you likely have a high craving for variety. This doesn't have to be dangerous thrill-seeking, but you have a strong need for new and different experiences, ideas, and adventures. Careers that a variety-type person will be a natural at succeeding at include marketing, journalism, and again, art and entrepreneurship. Now, many of these careers are pretty risky, and some people can't take such risks, like maybe you have a family. There's one option that works really great that safely gets you a career that satisfies your need for variety, is to switch to working as a contractor in your current field. Being a contractor, routinely switching from project to project and company to company, gives you a lot more variety in what you're working on, who you're working with, and what new skills you need to have polished sharp to get the job done. Now you should have a really good idea which of the 6 fundamental needs drive you. If that's not getting satisfied by what you're working on now, you will be happier, work harder, and be way more successful on work that does. We're a mix of all 6, so there's a good chance that you actually connected strongly with a second or third value. If you apply yourself to things that meet 2 or 3 of your top motivators, you'll be formidable and significantly outcompete other people. You can do a lot with this rough overview we just went through. The more clarity you have, the more they help you. Some of these movies were, simply made better than others, so it's not a perfectly fair comparison. In the next videos, I'm going to detail on each value one at a time, so you can get really clear on how much you connect with them. Even pursuing the same one, having more clarity on why and what it is you get out of it will give more intensity, making them even more powerful. Let me know if I missed your favorite example movie, or if you have any questions about which might be your top value. I personally want to get better at helping people find theirs, so I'd love to answer any questions you have about this. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.